about to get involved now. About to take a flapjack off the ring apron. Let's see how this goes.
And you know, Kieron's gonna die. Attempting a flapjack, take one.
Just don't jump off the apron.
It is recording, right?
Oh, you want?
Do it normally first.
Try the top rope.
Try it from standing.
Do it from standing first.
So, John, how do you think this is gonna go?
Probably better than mine.
We shall see.
We shall fall down.
And go.
I have a feeling that went well.
I am the heavyweight House of Pain Sticks. As you can see, this is the House of Pain Wrestling Academy. Where you can see at the moment some of the guys before training, destroying the ring and probably destroying their bodies as well. You might wonder why do this? You know, probably anyone in the ring probably couldn't even tell you why they do it, other than the fact that they love it. Whenever they wake up in the morning, it'll probably hurt. You know, and all through life, it'll probably hurt even more. You know, but we do it for the enjoyment of the fans that come to see the shows, and you know, to test ourselves physically, like people like athletes and stuntmen. So you're about to see the inner workings of the wrestling business and what goes into becoming a professional wrestler.
Is that doing well?
Yeah! All the way!
You know, helping to teach these guys, you will see a lot of different types of people, like some that probably want it as a hobby, and some that perhaps just are not very happy and just wanted to be doing something. I mean, have you seen quite a lot of transformations during their time? And
More than I can explain, to be honest. I mean, I've been teaching now for 5 years, and you know, and I've been wrestling for 10, and you know, in both of them you see so many different characters, so many different sized people, and it makes people wonder how can they all do the same thing. You know, I mean, you know, I can't play football, so I'm not going to be a professional footballer. You know, if I can't play golf, I'm not going to win the. So I don't even know what it's called, the PGA Tour Cup or whatever it's called. No, but with wrestling, the beautiful thing is you can cater it around yourself. You know, if you're a big guy and you can't do a backflip, then just don't do a backflip. You know, if you're a smaller guy but you can do a backflip but you can't really lift people, then just don't pick people up. You know, there's so much information that goes with wrestling, and so many varied roles. I mean, even if you look at, you know, even the WWE at the moment, you know, how can someone like Evan Bourne, who's like small and flies around the ring, you know, and someone like the Great Khali be the same type of person, you know, in a professional sense? And that's because, you know, wrestling is what you make of it. You know, you've got the high flyers, you've got the powerhouses, you've even got the comedy wrestlers. You know, one of my friends, Darren, is an Irish wrestler, wrestles with Madman Manson, who fortunately enough is down here on Sunday doing a seminar for us. He'll be the first to admit that as a wrestler he's not that great, but as an entertainer he is. know, he's a naturally funny guy, and he's transformed himself into this crazy character where whenever he goes out in front of a crowd, it's more like a stand-up comedy routine rather than a wrestling match. But he wrestles all over Europe, you know, because no one is as good as doing that style as he is. So whatever style you command, you know, due to your size or your ability or whatever, that's what you've got to concentrate on. And I think that's what the appeal is when it comes to wrestling, because you don't have to be a certain type to kind of fit into the mold of it. You know what I mean? Even age as well, you know, restrictions. That's why, you know, wrestlers can, you know, they can wrestle up till, well, I've seen a 65-year-old man, you know, wrestle, because he can just cater it around himself. You know, as long as the people he's in there with are willing to accept his limitations, then he can still do it, you know.
I like what you said there is, ultimately, like you said, you don't have to be the greatest wrestler, but if you can entertain people in a way, then they're gonna think, they're not gonna necessarily think, because I've seen countless times someone that can wrestle very well, but it's just the audience go there and they don't really, for them personally, they don't really get anything. Then you get someone that they just do something that they think, oh, I really like that. And I think Santino Marella is probably a good idea of that.
Exactly.
Never going to be the greatest wrestler, but he does make a lot of people laugh.
I mean, exactly. Santino Marella at the minute is, in my opinion, the new Scotty 2 Hotty. And Scotty 2 Hotty used to have the famous worm move, where he'd hip hop around and then do the dance move, the worm, and then just do a chop, like a judo chop to the chest. But it was so popular that he became massively popular. You know? I mean, he was a really good wrestler as well. You know, but no one ever really thought of that, because all they really wanted to see was the worm. You know? But at the same time, you've got someone like, you know, going back a few years, someone like Ken Shamrock, you know, who is a legitimately tough guy. You know, he won the UFC title back in the day. Yeah, so he's a fantastic rapper and a good wrestler, but he didn't have the personality to kind of transcend that towards the fans, you know. So he never became as big a wrestler as he could have been. You know, around the same time, he had the group Generation X, you know, and a guy in that called the Road Dogg. You know, he couldn't wrestle for toffee, you know, but he was so good on the microphone and entertaining the crowd that he became a bigger star than Ken Shamrock, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, you could say, yes, this is the wrestling business. I mean, it's not, it's the entertainment business, you know. If you're a great wrestler and you can entertain the fans with that wrestling, then great, you know, but you don't have to be a tremendous wrestler to entertain an audience. You know, you just need something that can entertain them. You know? And because wrestling takes in so many different mediums, you know, that's why everyone can find their niche and actually be a wrestler. You know? And I think that's very appealing to someone who might not have had the best athletic upbringing in school. You know, you don't have to be, how the Americans say, a jock to become a wrestler. Although jocks might make great wrestlers, you know, but they might be as entertaining as watching paint dry.
My ring name's James Murphy. I've been here for 2-3 years. I'm enjoying it, every day of it. I come twice a week, Monday and Wednesday. I'm more ground and pound kind of person, I think. Like a lot of drop kicks, a lot of strikes into my game. At the moment I'm quite enjoying it. I mean, I just put on shows, so it's really a good time for me. It's like really exciting.
I haven't actually got a character yet, but I've been training about a year and 4 months.
Late kicks, late hits. And now Mark.
Who I'm sure if they said to him, we'd like you to be technical, I'm sure that he's capable, but even then people say technically he's not one of the best, but he is basically the face of the biggest promotion now. I think he's a good example of someone that, not a lot of people like him, but the fact that they talk about him anyway, I mean, if you can get that attention.
I mean, look, actually, no doing the business like I do. You know, I see John Cena matches, and I actually really enjoy them. I mean, he is the master of what we call perfect timing. Okay, he may not be the greatest wrestler, he may not have the best physical skill, but he will do the right thing at the right time to get the biggest reaction that he could possibly get. You know, and that's a skill that not a lot of wrestlers actually know. You know, Steve Austin was another one who was like that. You know? No one really saw the technical ability because he was always fighting through the crowds and drinking beers and sticking his fingers up and things like that. You know, but when you watch Steve Austin matches, whenever he did something, it got so much bigger reaction than everyone else because he didn't, you know, do all these technical moves and all this stuff that people couldn't understand. You know, he just threw a punch, and you know, who can't understand a punch? You know? But if you get, you know, a technical wrestler who's doing all these holds and this grappling, you might go over the fan's head, you know, because they don't actually know what they're watching. You know? Which is why, you know, when Steve Austin and Triple H stand in the middle of the ring and have a fist fight, everyone comes to their feet because everyone thinks, you know, I'm sure, you know, whether it's by their own fault or not, everyone's been punched at some point in the body, you know, before. So everyone understands stuff like that. But they're just doing what they do best, you know.
I'd like to do European uppercut on Ben. Hit a short arm elbow first.
I'm going to kick Ben in the stomach and then I'm going to club him in the chest.
The art of wrestling is to make it look impactful with the minimal, like, pain. Okay? And that's an art form. But you have to make it look good. It's the hardest thing in the world to hit someone, you know, who hasn't earned it. Okay? That's why it's hard to lay it in, you know, with actual speed and accuracy, because you don't want to hurt them.
In a way, you could say, when people in the crowd, they're watching sort of heroes that, well, the good characters, the good guys. The idea is being that if you're in the crowd, there's something about them that either you aspire to be, or you sort of look at them and think they're almost like superheroes that you can actually access, if that makes sense. They're not just in films; you can actually go and see them. Especially as a kid, because it's become more of a family thing lately. Not a lot of people, well, not everyone agrees with that, but I can see from a business perspective of why they've had to do that, but it definitely appeals to a large audience.
I mean, what is the single biggest kind of form of entertainment in the world? Okay, it's movies at the end of the day. You know, it's in every country. You know, it's like football might be big in a lot of countries, but not every country. Okay, in most countries, movies are big. You know, and most movies only work, well, they work best when there's a good guy and when there's a bad guy. When there's a story that you can follow with someone that you don't like and someone that you do like, you know. And, you know, going back to, I mean, getting even religious now, you know, going back to like God. You know, you've got an evil and you've got a good, you know. And I just like the way, you know, kind of religious people, it's all, you know, wrestling's all violence. It's like, actually, it's one of the strongest morale tales you can actually think of. Because, you know, the bad guy will hardly ever win in a fair fight unless he cheats, you know. And in the end, he'll always get his comeuppance and stuff like that. That's a good tale to tell the kids, you know. If you do everything by the book, you know, and you work hard, you'll get results. You know, if you take shortcuts, you might get results for a while, but sooner or later it'll catch up with you. You know, that's an aspiring tale for life that anyone can buy into. You know, and like you said, it's superheroes. You watch any superhero film, you know, the bad guy might get, you know, one up during the film, you know, and everyone thinks that the good guy's down and out. And you know, the superhero will come back, you know, and save the day. You know, and in wrestling it might not be like that all in one match, be a dragged out storyline where, you know, they keep one-upping each other and it leads to a massive crescendo at the end. And that's what people will look forward to, you know. So in a way, it's like an episode of EastEnders, you know, that you can watch every week or every month. You can follow the characters, follow the stories, and then eventually that big episode happens where all the storylines come together, and you know exactly what's happening because you've been following it, you know. But if I didn't watch EastEnders, which I don't, I would put on the Christmas special and think, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know who that is. I don't know why she's sleeping with him. I don't know why this pub's blowing up. I don't know why he's trying to kill her, you know. But just like EastEnders fans, they follow it, they enjoy it because it's entertaining, you know. Just like wrestling fans, they follow it, they follow the characters, follow the storylines, they find it entertaining. So I don't see the difference, to be honest. I always say, as far as wrestling, if you think too hard about it, it means you're not enjoying it. Okay? Because there's a lot of fans around the world who go to shows to sit on their hands and to analyse shows rather than to actually just be a fan and cheer and boo and get into the show. We call these fans smart fans. Okay? Now, what a smart fan is, like a fully fledged smart fan, is someone who's been into wrestling so long, or is so into wrestling, that they have forgotten they're a fan. Okay? They actually think now that they're part of the business, even though they're not a wrestler, a referee, a commentator, or an announcer. Right? They see themselves as higher than the average wrestling fan, you know, and they see it as their right not to go to a show to enjoy it. They see it as their right to go to a show to analyse it and give their reviews on it and things like that. A lot like movie critics, for example. You know, they're not actors, they're not directors, they're not producers, but they've got to that point where they see themselves as higher than the average film goer. You know? And some of them might make a job out of it, you know, and actually get paid to do it, that's fine. You know, but when you're constantly on the internet giving your opinions, you know, sometimes you have to wonder, are you actually watching the film for enjoyment, or are you watching it just so you can review it later? You know? So we do get those kind of fans, you know, and I'm sure there's those kind of fans in every walk of life, you know, but you know, the best fans to perform in front of are just the ones that come to a show to enjoy themselves. You know, and unfortunately, at some shows, there's not that many of those type of things. You know, it makes it a less enjoyable experience.
Knock me through this ring. Alright? We need time for the show. 2, 3.
So we're here, it's Saturday, it's showtime in around an hour or so. What are your thoughts? And your character is zero tolerance.
Zero tolerance, yeah, the no-nonsense heel. I go out there and basically beat everybody up.
And you enjoy doing that?
Love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah, I'm the guy that everybody hates and the one they want to hate. So they get all sorts of different chants and things.
You're going to be up first then?
Yes.
In your opinion, being part of a wrestling match, what would you say is the most enjoyable element for you, being in front of the crowd? And
being in front of the crowd is a fantastic thing. I'm used to doing that anyway. I'm a pro musician, that's what I do first and foremost, but being able to play a character and act in a really horrible way and get so many people booing for me, that's a really good buzz. The more people that boo, the better it is really for me, and the better the show goes, because obviously the faces get sort of more applause if you get more boos from the bad guys. Very, very important that, I mean, safety obviously comes first in the wrestling business. You know, we have to make sure that we are safe in the ring as well as putting on a great show.
Who's your favourite wrestler in the WWE then?
Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio. Why is that? Because he can fly around the ring?
He can do a 619 and stuff.
Do you think you'll be seeing a 619 here today? Are you still looking forward to watching the show today though?
As a manager, I have the responsibility of getting the crowd involved in the match. It just helps the the wrestling have more of an atmosphere, and I think people enjoy it more if they really hate the bad guys. And I just help the crowd to make me hate those guys, and I use whatever means possible. I can act really cocky or harsh or snooty, or I can act a bit tantrumy. Throwing a tantrum is a really great way to elicit hatred.
Your character is based on a psychiatric shrink person.
Yeah, so I'm a shrink. I can, as a psychiatrist, I can console my wrestlers. I can give them advice on how to win their match, and that's going to be good for their development, so that they're not going to be psychos forever. Or maybe I help them to be happy psychos. It's good for them to get that aggression out onto somebody if they've had it all pent up inside themselves.
I would like to be very quiet. Would you keep your voices down? They're not keeping their voices down. What voice is this? Are you going to keep your voices down?
So everyone's got a role then, even if it's in the ring or out of the ring.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to chip in, it's good to just, if you're not on the show, just to help as much as possible, even just to help set up. We've been down here since about 12 today, so always something to do to help the company promotion.
So you just had your match, and
well, yeah,
looks like you've suffered quite a lot actually. How did it go?
I think I've got a broken nose. Anyone that says that wrestling's fake, this proves that it really isn't. We had a fantastic match out there, and the crowd have got better for it.
This match, one of the guys actually took a clothesline to the nose. That was not purposeful, so his nose is genuinely broken.
Another thing I'd say is there's a whole argument where the ignorant people, in my opinion, say the word fake. They throw out the word fake. That really annoys me, because there's a huge difference between something being scripted and something actually being fake, as in it's not happened.
Well, I mean,
like, what's your opinion on? Does that really annoy you as a trainer, especially, or do you just sort of have to take it?
Yeah, I mean, it's normally the people that don't watch it and are never going to watch it that say it's fake. So, in a way, I think, why am I even wasting my time trying to convince him? I mean, if I convince him that it's not all fake, is he going to go home and watch it? Probably not. You know? So, his opinion, whether I talk to him or not, will always be that. So, I say to myself, you know, why waste my breath? But then again, when you've got a passion for something and you've worked so hard at it for 10 years, and you've had friends and yourself that have been injured in a variety of ways after doing this apparent fake thing. You know, when you've seen on TV someone as serious as tearing their quadricep muscle, you know, and carrying on wrestling for 5 minutes after, you know, like breaking their arm, you know, and carrying on wrestling for 3-4 minutes after, you know, breaking their jaw, you know, and continuing a 10-minute match. Imagine if that happens to David Beckham or a Wayne Rooney, you know, who's being paid, you know, massive amounts of money. He should be the person who carries on and fights in pain, you know, yet we're the fake people, you know, who apparently have a high tolerance level for pain as the actual sportsman, you know.
The trainer, he basically prepares these young guys to perform in front of these people.
That's right.
You'd say that a lot of it is down to him as a professional and his conduct.
I think so. I think he's professional, he's well respected, he leads from the front, and he makes sure that you know, his training is good, everything is affiliated correctly, and all this breeds success because he does it, you know, in stages, and that's why he's probably got the biggest and most prestigious full-time academy in the UK.
Good result. Ow, painful. Really fun.
Enjoy it out there in front of the crowd.
Everything went well. Nothing went wrong for me. Well planned anyway. That's the first time for me. Normally I forget something. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I say to people when they say, oh, it's all fake, I say, well, do you watch films? They say, yeah. I go, well, all films are fake. You can think of bit like that, you know. Robert De Niro's not really a gangster, you do know that, don't you? You know, James Bond doesn't really exist, you know, but it doesn't stop you going to the cinema and paying quite a lot of money now to sit and be entertained for 1.5 to 2 hours, you know. People go on about, you know, the amazing Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Star Wars and stuff like that, yet it's all computer generated graphics and acting, you know. So why is it that they can have an opinion of wrestling as fake when it actually does work? And then they've got this opinion of films and, you know, things like that as, oh, you know, it's all real. I mean, hell, they've created a religion out of Star Wars, okay? They created a religion out of what is potentially a fake movie franchise, okay? That's fine by me, you know, whatever you want to do. But then don't come to me and tell me what I do is fake when you know absolutely nothing about it. Okay? If a wrestler came up to me and said, oh, what you do? And I said, what do you know? Well, I've been a wrestler for 10 years. Oh, okay, fair enough. You think it's fake. Maybe, you know, if you got in the ring with some of the people I got in the ring with, you probably wouldn't think it was a fake. Because I'm a very physical wrestler, you know, but at the same time, like I said at the beginning, it's normally the people that have no interest in wrestling whatsoever, don't watch it on TV, that say it's fake. And why am I even going to waste my breath trying to convince them when they're always going to have that opinion, you know? It's like someone trying to convince me that watching golf is fun, you know? I'd be like, you can talk all you want, but I'm not going to go home and sit in front of the TV for 6 hours watching a game, you know, because I'm already of the opinion that I don't like golf, you know. I might appreciate it a bit more, but, you know, I'm never going to be a golf fan, you know. I mean, I tried watching the Super Bowl, and it just confused the hell out of me. But my girlfriend and one of my best friends are massive American football fans. So I watch it with them, they enjoy it. I think, okay, I appreciate the athleticism, you know, I appreciate that, you know, they work hard to get where they are. But you can talk to me all day and I'm not going to be a fan. So, you know, I made a rule a long time ago, especially when I started at the school, that my time and my effort is going to be dedicated towards the people who actually care. You know, the people who want to be wrestlers, the people that are here, the fans that come to the shows. You know, I'm not going to waste my time thinking about people that aren't interested. Because, you know, I don't have that many hours in my life.
You didn't cheat in that match.
No cheating whatsoever. They're just bad losers.
This promotion in particular, have there been any highlights for you in terms of like what you've seen or what you've managed to achieve with certain people that perhaps didn't believe? Is it just, as a person, does it really help their sort of enjoyment in certain things? Because I suppose this is a way of like living a character that you can't be in your day-to-day.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the one great, not the one great thing, but one of the great things about becoming a wrestler, becoming a performer in any sense, is that you don't have to be the person that you are in real life. You know, you could be really shy, really soft-spoken. Actually, Dave, where is he? The one with his back to us in the ring. Okay. He is the quietest, most soft-spoken person you will ever see, you'll ever meet, okay? when he talks to you, it's always very polite, like, hi, how are you doing? Very shy. He gets to the ring, and he's an animal. Okay? And it's all because you're performing. Okay? And it's such a great release of stress, of the week. Say you don't have a very good life, say you've got money problems, you've got a girlfriend problems, living problems, whatever. If you perform as someone else for those few minutes or however long, you can just forget about your worries because it's almost like you're not you anymore. You are the performance. And as far as highlights, I mean, just being here and being able to look back and say, I created that. That is my wrestling school. It's one of the only full-time wrestling schools in the country. It's one of the only schools that actually has a full-time ring. And we've done now 15 shows in the past year and 6 months in front of audiences that have constantly come back and paid money to see the product that we're putting on. One of the biggest compliments I received, a few parents actually came up to me and thanked me for the shows because, I mean, we charge like quite a little amount of money, and whenever the WWE or big companies come to Nottingham, the tickets are 50, 60, £70 each, and they're normally for seats that are about 20 rows back, and they can't really see the action. Here they can get right into the thick of things, and the kids love it. And now the parents are saying that a lot of their kids don't even watch the American stuff on TV anymore because they're so into this. And how can you not take something like that as a compliment? I mean, even though I don't perform on these shows because I see these shows as the next generation. I met every guy that's on these shows when they first ripped through the doors, and helped them become what they're entertaining the crowd is. So it's almost like, as silly as it sounds, it's like a father seeing his son, playing a sport that he likes, and doing well at his social activity or whatever. When someone has their first match and it goes well, I think, wow, I'm proud of you. As strange as it sounds. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I've got proud moments every week. When someone thinks they can't do something and they overcome it, through confidence and hard work, that makes me proud. And that is one of the main reasons I do what I do. Just because, going back to the beginning, there's so many different types of people who get into wrestling. They all have different opinions on what they're capable of, how far they can go, etc., etc. And it's just great to see them completely smash any expectations